Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today because we are looking at a story that, honestly, on the surface, it seems like this super simple, delightful little children's fable. But beneath all that, it's actually a masterclass in visual storytelling. Today, we're going to decode the story of Bibble, the bubble-breathing dragon. We'll be exploring how this tiny, kind of misunderstood creature beautifully illustrates some really deep literary tropes, semiotics, and even magical realism.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever actually stopped to wonder why we so often turn to fantastical creatures to process things? Like, why use dragons, fairies, or wizards to explain very real, very human psychology? It's a fascinating question, isn't it? As you'll see today, sometimes the most magical, literally impossible elements in a story are actually the most accurate representations of how we feel on the inside. So, to really understand our protagonist, Bibble, we first have to look at the literary tradition he comes from, which is the shoulder-sized dragon trope. Now, in mythology, dragons are almost always gigantic, terrifying monsters, right? Think of Smaug. But in modern fantasy, creators love to subvert that expectation. They introduce these miniature, harmless, and frankly adorable draconic creatures. They're emotionally accessible, often serving as pets or familiars, and Bibble is exactly this. He's tiny, he definitely doesn't breathe roaring fire, and his small stature just makes him incredibly relatable to the audience. And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of our story. Here we have Bibble matched up against his main antagonist, a young dragon named Ember. Now, Ember is everything a traditional dragon is supposed to be. He's big, he breathes hot, roaring fire, and he is extremely aggressive and confident. He constantly bullies Bibble, teasing him that his bubbles are just soapy water. On the flip side, we have Bibble. He's miniature, he breathes harmless bubbles, and he's emotionally expressive and really shy. This stark visual and thematic contrast immediately sets up Bibble's deep feelings of inadequacy. I mean, he feels like a complete outcast in his own home at Dragonstone Mountain. Eventually, all that teasing just becomes too much. After one particularly cruel session with Ember, Bibble stomps his little feet, breathes out these angry red bubbles, and just runs far, far away down the mountain. And that's where he meets a wonderful water dragon named Ver, who actually appreciates his bubbles.
Section 1, Semiotics of Bubble Colors.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how Bibble's internal world is perfectly mapped out for us. His bubbles aren't just some random quirk. They're a direct visual language. Look at how this plays out. When he's happy, the bubbles are bright yellow. When he's sad, they're this cloudy blue. Scared or embarrassed, deep purple. Angry is red, and excited yields a sparkling rainbow. Bibble literally cannot hide how he feels. His breath makes his emotions completely visible to everyone around him. Which actually brings us to a really fascinating academic concept, semiotics. As defined here, it's the study of signs and their use in representation. Researchers who study how children draw point out that kids purposely invest basic visual signifiers, things like color and shape, with much deeper meaning. Like a jagged line might mean lightning, or a dark color might mean sadness. The creator of Bibble is using this exact same principle. Bibble's bubbles are a classic semiotic device where external colors represent complex internal truths. So the bubbles are the signifiers, and Bibble's emotions are what's being signified. Section 2. The color failure trope. But what happens when those emotions turn negative? Well, take a look at this quote from the analysis site TV Tropes. It says, in animation, people can go grayscale or pure white. Characters once grayscale can be unresponsive or completely frozen in place. Now, when Bibble gets bullied, his bubbles turn a cloudy blue or a deep, embarrassed purple. While he doesn't turn totally grayscale himself, this functions incredibly similarly to the established trope of color failure. His joyful, bright yellow and rainbow colors are just drained away, completely replaced by muted, heavy tones that visually communicate his emotional freeze and distress. You can see just how universal this visual language is across animation and comics. We've all seen characters turn pure white, or sometimes a pale, cloudy blue with shock. They drop to the ground frozen. It's used to signify sudden depression, or what some analysts call an anti-inertia of the mind, basically a total mental freeze. When Ember mocks Bibble's bubbles, Bibble experiences this exact anti-inertia. His self-worth plummets, and his semiotic output, his bubbles, broadcasts that trauma instantly. Section 3. Magic realism and inner truths. Let's move to the timeline here and see how this builds because it's incredibly cinematic. Bibble and his new friend Ver are playing happily at the spring when suddenly Ember shows up just to show off. First, we get the mistake. Ember's fiery wave accidentally ignites a dry, old tree. Second, the panic. The fire spreads totally out of control, and Bibble's bubbles turn a frantic, panicked red. Third, the failed defense. Ver tries to use his water magic, but he's just too young, and his splashes are totally ineffective against the flames. And finally, the miracle. Bibble, whose heart is absolutely pounding, remembers a secret about his bubbles. If he wishes hard enough, they can make things come true. He takes a massive breath, wishes with everything he has to protect his friends, and blows a giant, shimmering, multicolored bubble shield that wraps around all three of them.
This moment right here is a breathtaking example of what literary scholars call magical realism. As the quote explains, magical realism features a calm magic, where the external world mirrors an inner truth. Bibble's wish bubble isn't some spell he read in a magic book. It's a direct, physical projection of his deepest, purest desire to keep his friends safe. It completely blurs the line between his internal reality and the external fantasy world. So the crucial point we need to take away is this, that Giant Bubble is literally Bibble's bravery made visible. While the Elder Dragons, the Earth, Sky, and Water Dragons, eventually arrive to stomp out the massive fire, it was Bibble's unique, entirely non-traditional magic that kept those three young dragons alive in the first place. Ember, sitting inside that beautiful, silent, shimmering sphere, realizes that fire isn't the only power in the world. He looks at Bibble with total awe and finally apologizes for all his teasing. Section 4, the magic of differences. So, Ember learns that there is way more to being a dragon than just destruction and fire. And Bibble learns that his emotional expression was his greatest superpower all along. It's really a beautiful way to think about how we communicate our own inner lives, isn't it? Our emotions are powerful, and sometimes actually letting them show is the bravest shield we can build. I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder today. If your deepest emotions were visible to the world right now, just like Bibble's, what color would your bubbles be? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.